Now in this session we'll learn about auditing the EMS, like conducting the environmental audit. Means how the environmental audit to be conducted. So in the session 1 I think we have discussed about the three main activity. Pre and last one the post, and second one is the on-site activity. So in this we'll start stepwise. There are 7 steps. We are conducting the environmental audit. So before going to this environmental audit scheme, we have to develop an audit plan. And for developing audit plan, we have to answer some question. For the first, where means where the site, boundary, and some overviews means we have to prepare the checklist. Then what means the scopes and objective. Then how means site personnel interview, site inspection, audit protocol, logistics, administrative arrangement. That is comes under how. And who means the responsibility, audit team, site facilitation arrangement, etc. And last one is when. Kab means audit schedule, when audit to be conducted and what to be achieved like milestone. So the audit team had seek the arrangement from AMC on audit plan, establish reporting structure in case of if these all criteria will be fulfilled in the step 1. And in step 2, prepare the pre-audit questionnaire, that is already discussed in the previous session, that is checklist. So for preparing questionnaire, document, checklist, the main hard issues are overall environmental management, what type of environmental management is implementing by the agency, by the industry, factory. Then procurement policy is what, किस type से management कर रहे हैं वो लोग. Energy management, how energy is procured and how they are utilizing. Material management, raw material in terms of all the utilities, fuel, etc. Water and wastewater management, how they are managing their waste. Then you should prepare the checklist on waste management. Noise monitoring and control, similarly air, similarly water quality monitoring, emergency response procedures. And now step number 3, how to review the background information to gain the familiarity with the audit site through review of what? One is site layout. It is very important to note that there should be layout, then site history. I will show the format of site history, how site history should be prepared or mentioned. Use of that site, activities at the site, blueprint, drawings, etc. Organization structure at audit site, internal environmental policies, what are the procedures, what type of guideline to be followed by that. So all these things should be reviewed in step number 3. And now in the step 4, review operational information. So to gain appreciation of site activity and operational practices on site through these 6 things. What? Operational activity and process description means flow diagram. You can check the water balance, mass balance, flow diagram. And management system policies, procedures, programs. That can be available in EIA report also. If environmental clearance is applicable to that industry, then EIA should be there. Then you can check the EI or EMP. Then documentation for implementing the EMS. Then relevant record like compliances, monitoring, training, internal training, external training, maintenance, calibration of the equipment in the lab, etc. Wherever applicable, then you can tick, otherwise you can skip. And other relevant information pertaining to the environmental management practices. And in step number 5, that is conduct initial site visit. Initial means start. To arrange with the site facilitator for initial visit during the normal operation of audit site, to meet the officer in charge to explain purpose of audit for the first time. Because maybe the person who is in charge at site, they does not know any about your working or your scope of working. So you need to explain the purpose of audit and so that they can easily answer your questions. Assess whether background information gathered is up to date or not, and also it should be accurate. Follow up the list of preliminary audit impressions. Identify and request additional site information as necessary as per your convenience. Confirm thoroughness of the audit scope, and then establish adequacy of resource for audit, environmental audit. And now in step number 6, develop on-site questionnaire and audit protocols. Because to develop a series of step-by-step questionnaire and evaluation criteria to assess the compliances with pertinent legislative and regulatory requirement, conformance with the internal and environmental policies, procedures, etc. and guidelines also, status of current environmental practices, staff awareness of internal policies, procedures, guidelines, etc. So now the last step is review audit plan and arrange logistics. So the key points like audit scope, audit schedule, audit protocol, allocated resources and all, then you have to just go to the site. So before going to site, we will learn about the differences between some terms like audit and review. Where the environmental review is in case of objective, the determine which performance standards should be met. Like in case of review, they have companies decide to reduce the hazardous waste from 100 tons to 10 tons per year. But in case of audit, will only verify the performance against the standard. Like company checks that it really has reduced waste to 10 tons per year or not. If they complied, that means audit has been successfully conducted. And in case of environmental issues, in review, all known environmental issues are without explicit standard to measure the performance. Whether in case of environmental audit, only issue for which standard exists. Regulatory requirement, internal company standard, good management practices, etc. can be covered under audit. And in case of environmental review, the main key area is a requirement like before developing EMS, any significant changes in operation or in practices required. However, in case of environmental audit, regularly and pre-planned cyclical basis is required. In case of environmental review, on the basis of geographic boundary, whenever the business could have an environmental impact in the life of the product like raw material, transportation, manufacturing, product use, disposal, that is the geographic boundary in environmental review. However, in case of environmental audit, usually will define geographical boundary that we have limited to the site, distribution to the company, a local planning authority, or simply any notified industrial area. So that is the environmental audit. So some organizations prefer not to use the term audit, they are just using the financial audit. So these financial audit are very similar. And now the how they are different on some key basis. One basis is legal basis of audit. Financial audit is a part of regulatory process organization have to perform on the legal basis. But in case of environmental audit, with few exceptions, audit are voluntary affair. In some state even they is not implemented here. Even some preparatory environmental review which is mandatory under ISO 14001 is voluntary as the standard is voluntary. So it is not necessary to do by all the factories, organizations, institutes, but financial audit can be done for all as per the legal requirement. And in case of frequency, financial audit is as per the requirement in terms of frequency. It is annual affair, but in case of environmental audit, the organization can decide when to submit or not. And in case of financial audit, who does it? Means it can be performed by external staff, CA or something. But in case of environmental audit, it performed by the internal as well as the external staff also. But they need a expert team and should be registered with the SPCV. In terms of methodology, financial audit are based on the company standard, where in case of environmental audit varies very much between auditor and company. In case of access to the audit, the financial audit results are public document in the form of annual report, but in case of environmental audit, very few audit are public, or we can say you cannot access the environmental audit report publicly. Financial audits in terms of liability, auditors are partially liable their reports and they have to provide a true and fair view of organization. But in case of environmental audit, few exceptions that are negotiated between auditor and auditee, there is no external liability implications in environmental audit. So these are the major differences where environmental review, environmental and financial auditing with the environmental audit. There are some types of audits available. So where the audit will endeavor to investigate all aspects of environmental performance, and where while others are narrowly defined. So environmental audit is essentially a process and the way in which this process is utilized, it is purely depend on the organization. The organization has to decide the frequency, organization has to decide the environmental audit report to go to the public or not. So there are a lot of different way of defining these different type of audit, and often different terms are used for the similar type of report. So here are some types. One is corporate audit, like it is as per regulatory requirement, EMS standards. And another term is liability audit, like the usually conducted prior to buying or selling a facility or land in order to identify potential liability, both on financial and legal matter. In these liability audit, pre-acquisition, de-investment, and insurance, etc. Should be assessed. And some audits are on single basis, single issue base, like where we can take example of waste minimization, or we can say the traffic impact assessment. And some audits in case of life cycle assessment. Life cycle assessment is type of this include the product use and use, we can say their life, half-life, their degradation, on acidification, on eutrophication, and many more, where the whole means in the life cycle of any product, the audit should assess the whole cycle of that particular entity, that product, and means on the degradation, how much loss was done, and that loss goes to where, in soil, in air, in water, in any area. So we have to assess all these things, that is life cycle assessment in environmental audit. So this provided by means by which effective operation of the system can be checked and remedial actions can be taken as per the requirement. So the policy compliance audit are primarily internal management tool. So that is also known as a management decision taking tool. Determine the depth of compliance with the policy of that company. This may be the same as an issue audit which concentrate on a topic, on one topic like packaging or any from transportation or something. So means audit is basically looking to the, one is the statutory requirement and also your effectiveness of EMS. So organization naturally look for the insurance to protect themselves against potential liability. So that is known as environmental liabilities. And in case of, that is not most important under this audit, but the companies are also looking for liability and insurance cost. Like investment decision before going to buy the facility, as we have said in liability audit, you can see here liability audit. So this liability audit before buying or selling the facility, where the person has one aim to achieve the insurance cost and all. So in many cases, operation of the organization are constantly under scrutiny by regulators and some others. So they are the costs associated with the ground remediation and the capital cost of the potential compensation claims for past mistake can easily overweigh any financial advantage of an acquisition of land or project. So these liabilities are basically identify the area, the weakness basically. And in initial review of an organization, or we can say the audit of an organization or site may reveal particular issue where specific issues, single issues that require further investigation, and the organization may decide to undertake an audit with specific objectives of concentrating on particular topic like waste, like energy, or water, or packaging, or transportation, or fuel use. So an issue audit focusing the particular area of concern can help to ensure that organizations' operation in this area are as efficient as possible. So in case of single issue audit, a company became aware that it might not have been controlling its air emission and in the most efficient manner possible, which is possible by that utility. The company had several air pollution sources, each controlled separately. Should be controlled separately. Suppose one company has 3 stacks. Stack, stack means the chimney simply. There are 3 chimney, then they have to control separately. It is not means done by installing back filter at one stack and not to other stacks, 2 other stacks. So if the sources are several, then every stack or every emission source should be controlled separately, of course. And this environmental audit targeted specifically toward investigating the air emission. This is not for only air emission, but in case of single issue audit, we have to focus on one area. Suppose here we are taking one example of air. If we are going for the waste minimization, then we have to look into the waste only. The source of generation of waste, quantity of waste, and then how the waste is recycled or sent to the TSDF or any other facility. In case of air emission, we have to look into the air emission, type of air emission, sources of air emission, physical emission, process emission, stack, that is flue emission. So all areas should be identified, and then the pollution control equipment, what type of control equipments are installed, the performance efficiency of that equipments are, how much quantity, how much percentage the efficient they are. So we have to look into that performance, the EMS, and then fuel consuming control. Means like suppose you have installed ESP, then how much the electricity, that is power, is required to run the ESP. That is the single issue audit. Means we can say in single issue audit, it illustrates that focusing on a particular aspect of an organization's operation is, of course, it takes some benefits. Majority of issue audit deal with the evaluation of impact that particular public issue can have an organization, like organic food or some other. We can take some example like genetically modified organization. You can take example of Bharat Petroleum, where they are dealing with oil, gas, energy, or Unilever. They are providing the range of branded product in beauty product and all. So you can take some many example. They are just they are doing a single issue audit where they just want to check the specific benefits or any losses. So they have introduced the practice of focusing on how whole group is dealing with a specific environmental issue. So that single issue is important. Single issue audit is important. Otherwise, and in case of corporate image, of course, single issue audit has a brand value. Means many organizations has realized there is a real value in presenting the responsible stance toward the environment. So they are conducting single issue audit, increasing public awareness of environmental issues, resulting in consumer pressure, like companies which present the environmentally friendly image may be able to obtain a market advantage. In nowadays, companies are having some label, that is eco mark. So they are obtaining their image, they are either eco-friendly or environmental friendly. Competitive advantage can be achieved not merely by keeping abreast of the environmental development, but also by initiating changes within the organization, and they have to work. Their EMS should be implemented very in good manner. So, as a part of overall management, environmental audit are very important tool for taking decisions in proactive stance toward the environmental issues. And in case of single, if companies concerning about one area, then they may go to the one issue. So now environmental management is about learning what environmental implications are and finding the way which these can be evaluated, documented or eliminated. So many employees feel uneasy about their polluting behavior at work, which may be in stark contrast to environmental priorities. So it means in addition there is now quite widespread evidence that reducing emissions and improving resource and energy efficiency is economically a smart thing to do. Up to the point combining environmental concerns with the business is profitable and help in the bottom line. So also there is some past accidents, because environmental audit is to check whether your EMS is working or not, and how the efficient EMS can be implemented. So some past accident in case of your organization only or some other organization take learnings from that. Like you can take example of Union Carbide case in Bhopal in 1932. So in that simply one Brent spar in Nigeria, and so these are some cases for cell or some company, some accident huge where huge human, or we can say livelihood has been lost. So looking at the origin of environmental concern among us, the environmentally most enhanced companies, they can identify a particular environmental incident and that triggered the step change toward the greater environmental management. So in these all cases, either in case of Union Carbide or any some other cases, you can take examples of Gapel in Gujarat in 2012, that was closed completely by the agitation of common public. That is also means learning for some other CETPs and some TSDF sites. So such event can only act as a wake-up call if organization willing to woken up. Otherwise, they cannot. Means if they companies are wanting to implement the efficient environmental management system, then they can take example from the past accidents. And from the past accident, the EMS is basically depend on the following. One is organization stance on environmental issue one, and second one, attitude of the management or board of director, and third one, regulatory regime within the organization operate, and the pressure from the society. So these four key area where EMS can be implemented means that if pressure from the society, then of course EMS can implemented. Otherwise the organization, the attitude of management also depend on the attitude of the board of directors to implement the system, because EMS is basically not in industry point of view, they said that EMS is non-productive. So it depends on these four focusing area. And now in next session